Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Well, I've got 4 different emails that I'm going to go through with you, and some of the emails the guys are winning and doing great, and other emails the guys are not. But the point that I wanted to make in this email, and before we get into these emails, I got a quote that I wrote that I want to share with you, is you got to understand life. It's like not every day is going to be sunshine and roses. Not every day you're going to have an amazing victory. Some days you're going to feel like you're moving forward and you're making great progress. And there's going to be other days where you're going to be completely sliding backwards. There'll be times where things are going totally great and it seems like it's going to go on forever. And then things totally go sideways on you. Sometimes you go out on a date with a girl, or you have several dates and you hook up and you have fun, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, she just stops returning your phone calls, or when you do call her, she's not as interested to hang out and have fun. Sometimes just you being you is going to piss other people off. That's just the way it is. One of the things my mother used to say to me, and she just really drilled this into our heads when my brother and I were growing up, is that you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. The best thing you could do in life is you got to be who you are. And not everybody's going to like that. I mean, a lot of people that come to me think I'm great, and they appreciate the advice I have to other offer. Other people come and watch me, and they get totally offended and pissed off and think I'm an asshole or whatever. Hey, I can't help that. One of the things that Wayne Dyer said that I thought was brilliant is that other people's opinion of you is none of your business. It really isn't. And when you realize that and you accept that, that'll give you peace of mind and not get worried, because the right people are going to show up and love you and appreciate you the way you are, and they're not going to expect you to change. They're not going to want you to change. They're going to like you just the way you are, and you can't let things get you down. Because I was watching the other night, I was watching a documentary on Marty Schottenheimer, the football coach. He's one of like 3 football coaches that has over 200 wins as a coach, but he never won he never went to the Super Bowl. He never won the Super Bowl. And he always seemed like, just at the very last minute of the games when he was on the verge of getting to the Super Bowl with his team, just some crazy shit would happen. And it was interesting, one of the things that he always taught his players, because he used to be a football player himself years ago. He played back when Joe Namath was playing for the Jets back in the 60s, a long, long time ago. And there was a play where he and Joe Namath were actually friends. They went to college together. They met around the same time because they were both the same age. They became pretty good friends. And so one time, I think Marty played on the Bills, if I remember right. He was trying to tackle Joe Namath as he was trying to run on his rickety legs after numerous injuries. And he went and dove at his legs, and he literally just face planted his mask in the mud, and Joe jumped right over him. And he says he was so pissed off and so upset about that play and the fact that he didn't make the play. He says, for the whole rest of the game, it just totally ruined him and his ability to focus on the next play at hand, because it's like once that moment in time is gone where you have that failure or things don't work out, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you get emotionally upset and mad and you carry that with you through the afternoon or through the moment, minutes, the days, the weeks after that, it's going to affect your ability to show up and give your very best moment by moment. So the lesson that he learned in that was that you've got to focus on one play at a time. And that's it. And that was one of the hallmarks as when he was a coach. That's what he really got his teams to focus on, was one play at a time, because that's the only moment that exists. And think about it from a dating perspective. If you go out and you have some great dates, and then you meet a girl you really like, and you start going out with her, and you know you're doing everything right, your game is tight, sometimes that ain't going to be enough. But think about it. If you get all butthurt about that, and you carry that with you through the next 3 or 4 women that you interact with, you're not going to be in a peak emotional state, and that's going to affect your ability to show up and get what you want. It's the same thing with a job interview. If you go on a job interview and you get 2 or 3 offers, and then you get an interview with the company that you really want to work for, and then that company just blows you off and doesn't even give you a call back, and you're upset about it, and you feel disappointed, you feel depressed, you feel sad, and then you go into another company that you really would like to work for, but because of the bad experience that you just had, you totally tank the interview because you're in a shitty emotional state. Something to think about. So I got a quote that I wrote that I want to share with you before we get into these emails. In life, you're not always going to win every time. Sometimes you will win, and sometimes you will lose. The most important thing is not whether you win or lose, but how you manage your own internal psychology and state. Winners expect to win, and they also expect to fail. Once you can accept the fact that life is not always going to go the way you want or turn out the way you expect, only then will you be able to lose your attachment to any outcome. The key is to always give your best, expect to win, but be okay with whatever shows up in your life. It does not matter how many times you get knocked down, but that you continue to get back up again and take your next shot. Learn to live one moment at a time and one play at a time, so you never let disappointments, setbacks, or challenges negatively affect your progress and effort going forward. Otherwise, you're simply allowing failure, fear, and uncertainty to hijack your emotions and prevent you from giving your very best. Never give up, never give in, and never back down from what you want in life. So let's get to the first guy's email. He says, "Hey Corey, I just wanted to update you on my situation. Maybe you can use it as proof that your methods are pretty damn solid. I wound up going out with the girl I had emailed you about a few days ago, and I had her come to my place and we cooked dinner together, had a lot of laughs, and just had a really goddamn good time." Well, good for you, bro. You deserve it. This is your birthright, is to have a great time with great people who appreciate you. And the ones who don't, well, they can take a flying fucking roll in a donut. He says, "This is a girl that told me that she doesn't have sex with guys for 90 fucking days." Oh, so she's got a little rule book. Well, you can tell her just take that little rule book and throw it out the window because it doesn't apply to you. I've actually told girls that. When they say things like that, I go, "What is that, in your rule book?" And they're like, "Yep." It's like, well, you need to take that little rule book, you need to throw it out because none of that shit applies with me. That always gets a giggle. He says, "She told me this when she came over. She was like, you know we're not having sex tonight." Well, when a woman says we're not having sex, it means that we're having sex. "I just looked at her and smirked. We had dinner, talked, and then the kissing started on the couch." Nice. "I would stop for a little bit, started teasing her and talking to her, and then a little while later would start kissing her again. I could tell she was definitely getting into it. It was a slow and enjoyable process." Exactly. The process of seduction is getting closer and closer until you ultimately end up inside of her. He says, "I had her shirt off on the couch and she had her hands on my Franken beans." I haven't heard that one in a while. "She then pulled away, put her shirt back on, and said, 'Remember the 90 days?'" I talk about this often. Sometimes this is exactly what women will do. You get them to the point where you got a bunch of their clothes off and they feel like, oh, this is moving a little too fast. I got my little rules. The little slut alarm starts going off inside her head. And she starts not feeling safe and comfortable. And she backs up and she puts her clothes on. And the key is when that happens is not to get butthurt about that, but to be cool with it and not bother, not get worried about it, just like James Bond would, because he knows, hey, you're going to be in my bed naked later anyway, so it really doesn't matter. He says, "Yeah, I fucking remembered when we went and talked a little more, and then we started kissing and fooling around even more. I grabbed her hand and slowly led her to my bedroom. This was after about an hour of couch play." Nice job. It's all about making her feel safe and comfortable. He says, "She took off her shirt and I was starting to undo her pants and she stopped me. Ding. 90 days. Doesn't apply to me." He says, "Well, a little more enticing kisses and foreplay, and then I had her pants off and she was completely naked. We fucked and it was awesome. Get this shit. She tells me, you know, this is all your fault for making me break my rule. See, you're the one that took her clothes off and you're the one that put your Big Johnson inside of her and gave her the hot beef injection. Hopefully you were wearing a raincoat, of course." He says, continued on, she said, I never do this with guys. Yeah, if I had $1 for every time I heard that. LOL, fucking love it. He says, I can't believe how well that worked. Well, I don't talk out my ass, dude. I teach things from experience. This shit works. If you apply it, you'll have a great time, and you'll give her a great time. He says, the old me would have been flogging the dolphin instead of her flogging it for me. Thanks, man. Well, good fucking job. So let's get into the second email. This guy says, hey, coach, I just wanted to let you know that after a recent breakup from a 9-year relationship, I came across your videos and bought your book. I had never had problems with my confidence, but was a bit rusty from the dating scene. Your advice and videos are truly spot on, and I know you probably hear it all the time, but I don't blow smoke for anyone. That's why I say all the time, you can think I'm a totally full of shit and a total jackass, but if you just apply things that I teach, you'll see that they work for you. He says, anyway, just a quick note. I've been talking to this one lady for a long time, and she's always been flighty, until I literally told her, okay, you keep pushing me away, I'm done trying. Give me a text or a call when you want to get together. The very next text from her was, I'm free on the 27th. So I set up a definite date and I'm good to go. Thanks again for your book and your videos, and I'm on my way to a very, very successful dating adventure. Hang out, have fun, and hook up, bro. Enjoy yourself. It's your birthright. Let's get into the third email. This guy says, hey, Corey, I really enjoy all your work, man. Keep it up. So I moved to Sydney from the UK a little while ago now. And over the last 6 weeks, I've been dating a really great girl. I took all your advice and kept things brief when we weren't together and just arranged the next date. I made sure I wasn't too available and things started to go well. Every time we hung out, we always had loads of fun, decent amounts of physical contact, made out at the end of all of our dates, and sometimes during and 3 nights ago, we slept together. So the sex was okay, fun but not amazing, which to be honest, I didn't see as a problem first time and all. The only way is upright, and we've been out on 6 dates, and she must be keen. I wasn't thinking there were going to be any problems. Since Sunday, though, things have taken a turn. I contacted her to arrange a meet, and she said she was busy and didn't suggest an alternative. Well, that's why I always say, hey, I'd love to see you when you're free to get together. He says, I came back with a relaxed message, no problem, give me a call when you're free, and I've heard nothing. I can't really understand it. Last week she was excited to meet up and stay at my new flat, etc., giving me dates and times when she was free, and now we've hooked up and something's changed. Well, maybe you did something or said something to her that made her feel like a piece of meat. Who knows? Maybe there's an ex-boyfriend coming back in the picture. It's just like, these things have happened to me in the past too. It's just sometimes it goes that way, and it's not till 6 months or a year later you run into them again and you start talking, and then you realize, oh, so you got back together with this boyfriend that you hadn't talked to in 8 months. And sometimes that happens. And the reason those things happen is she has more of an emotional bond with somebody that she may have dated for several months, and you may have only dated for a few weeks. And that's why even if you're doing everything right, she'll ditch you for another guy. He says, after we had slept together, there was one comment where I said, next time you're over, we'll do this. And she said, oh, so there's going to be a next time, is there? Yeah, that's probably not a good sign when she texts that. So probably, I don't know, maybe you thought that, oh, we can talk about sex in every text now. Maybe you kind of made her feel like she was just a piece of meat or a fuck buddy. It's hard to say. That's one of the reasons why I tell guys in my book that if you're just learning this stuff or you're not comfortable and you're really not that good at bantering, it's better that you stay away from the sexual innuendo and the banter, because most guys take it too far and they don't know when to stop, and then they start saying and doing things that are inappropriate and turn the woman off. He says, which I thought was a joke, but now I'm not sure. He says, I'm starting to fall for this girl, to be honest, and I'm not sure what the hell I can do apart from playing the waiting game. Well, you told her to get in touch when she was free, because you think about it. If you're a catch and you have a lot to offer somebody and you call her and you reach out to her to get together again, and she just treats you like a second-class citizen or a redheaded stepchild, hey, give me a call when your schedule opens up. We'll plan something then. And then you walk away. You got to be with somebody who wants you mutually, and for whatever reason, she is not valuing you and your time, and that's why she's just kind of like, doesn't matter. So if you continue to chase someone who's treating you that way, you're disrespecting yourself. You're no longer valuing yourself. You're no longer perceiving yourself as a high value male who has a lot to offer her. Sometimes these things happen. You just can't let it bother you. He says, the last thing I want to do is fall into the trap of chasing her, being needy, etc., but she's all I can think about at the moment. Well, that's why you need to have, especially when you're learning this stuff, you need to have multiple women in your life that you're dating, hanging out, having fun, and hooking up with, because these things would not happen. And it's not until you really master this stuff and you own it and you don't have to think about it anymore that it's okay just to date one single woman at a time. But when you're just learning this stuff and you're still kind of unsure and you haven't dated enough women, hooked up with enough women, it really helps to have 3 or 4 other ones that you can hang out and have fun and hook up with, because otherwise you start acting needy, you start over pursuing, and you literally just push her right out of your life. He says, I've been unsure of her feelings for me as she never really started to chase in between dates, and I would always be the one to give her a call and arrange something, but it's early in the relationship still, and I saw this as pretty normal. Well, after 6 dates, if she's not calling you and texting you in between dates, she should have been doing that by now, because you're a month and a half in on this, and she's still not really making any effort. Maybe she really wasn't digging you that much. And then when you got together and the sex wasn't really that great, she was like, I don't know if I want to do that again. He says, what would your next move be? What did you tell her? Call me when your schedule's free, and we'll plan something then. You got to be congruent with that statement. You don't tell a woman that and then start running after her, because that makes you look needy. That makes you look insecure. Your attitude should be, hey, I'm a catch. I called to invite her out so we can have some more fun together, and she just blows me off. I mean, think about it. Why would you want to chase after somebody like that? Fuck that noise. He says, should I try and arrange a date at a different time or just hope that she contacts me? Well, that's where you got to bite your tongue and you got to wait for her to get back to you. You told her to get in touch with you when her schedule is free, and your words and your actions must be congruent as a man. That is so fucking important. Because when a woman says, hey, I'll call you later, and then she doesn't call you, and then like the next day comes and goes and she still hasn't called you, she told you she was going to do something and then she didn't do it. Now think about this from an objective point of view. If you're in a relationship with somebody and she says, hey, I'm going to call you later, I'm going to call you tonight when I get home, I'll call you tomorrow morning, and then you never hear from her. Well, A, she either got hit by a bus, or B, she's doing that on purpose, or C, she's just not as interested. Remember, women are like cats. They kind of come and go. And when she said that, maybe she intended to call you the next day, but she didn't. And you can't let it come unglued. You've got to give the other person the space and the time to follow through on what they say they're going to do. And when a woman says that she's going to do something and then she doesn't do it, it's either because her attraction's not there yet, or she's purposely doing that to see what you do. Because most women, 97% of the guys out there are needy, they're insecure, they overchase, they overpursue. And this is the kind of guy that they're normally encountering. And so if they're starting to like you, and you do something or you say something that gives her pause to think, maybe this guy's not so confident after all, they're going to back off like that on purpose just to see how you handle it. If you just let them go, if there is mutual interest on their part and they really value you, they'll come back in a few days. And if they don't, hey, like I said, like the title of the video says, sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. You got to be okay with either possibility. You got to be unattached to no matter what shows up. So let's get into the final email. This guy says, hey coach, there's a woman I had gotten close to for a short while. She got mad at me for stupid shit and has treated me like shit because she knows that I care for her. So in other words, you communicated all your feelings and you were really into her, and you probably let her walk all over you, and so therefore she started to lose respect. When a woman loses respect for a man, she loses attraction for him as well, because if you won't stand up for yourself to her, if she were ever in any real physical danger, then guess what? She's going to worry that you would just take off and haul ass and leave her there to fend for herself. She purposely hugs other men and is all over them in front of me. Some women do that just to see what you're made of, to see how you handle that situation. He says, I've now walked out of her life so I can regain my dignity and love for me. This does give me my power back, but it sure hurts to not see her. Shit like this is going to happen, dude. Until you overcome this stuff, it's going to happen more frequently than it will if this type of stuff doesn't bother you. If you're able to maintain, then when you're able to maintain your center and not let anything a woman does diminish you. He says, now that I'm being good to me again, sadly I wish she could feel a little bit of the pain that she caused me. By walking, does this kick her ass a little so she can see what it feels like to be hurt? I wouldn't look at it that way. It's not about punishing the other person when they don't do what you want. At the end of the day, based on what you shared her, you really only have yourself to blame for how she's showing up. If she doesn't come back, then it means you blew it. Move on to the next one. That's why when you're learning this stuff, you need to have lots of different options. Be dating lots of women and meeting lots of women. So you don't get so hung up and wrapped up emotionally on a woman that's really not that into you. And then you put yourself in this position where you don't hear from a girl for a couple of days and you're totally heartbroken over it. It takes two to make a relationship work. It takes mutual effort. And the right woman, she'll fucking make the effort no matter what. Why? Just because you do it for her. Mother Nature's already taken care of that. Attraction's not a choice after all. He says, sorry, I shouldn't care, but I'm angry at myself for being a pussy and for so long, and at her for being such a bitch. Well, if you were acting like a pussy and letting her walk all over you, that's why you haven't heard from her. And the best thing you can do is to let her go and never look back. If you never hear from her again, then you know that you totally turned her off to the point where she decided that you weren't good for her and she didn't want to date you anymore. Remember, women have the attitude that when they go out on dates, they're thinking, is this guy good for me? Is he a good match for me? And when you act like a pussy for a long period of time and you let her constantly walk all over you and disrespect you and jerk you around and you just keep coming back for more and more and more again, that's what's going to happen. And you got to realize that that kind of behavior is not going to get you anywhere. And it's these kinds of things that will emotionally anchor you to doing the right thing so you can walk away when things don't go well, so you can overcome this. Because this is all about it's like pushing past that invisible barrier of fear that all of us have to deal with. That fear that, is this person going to love me? Are they going to care about me? Are they going to come back? Is that phone going to ring? Am I going to get an email? Am I going to get a text from them? Will I never hear from them again? And you have to get to a place where the reality is, if the other person will not make the effort, no amount of you blowing up their phone or sending constant messages or chasing after them is going to make them want you. You have to look at it from an objective point of view. That other person has to make an effort for the relationship to work. It has to be a mutual thing. And like for me, when I was a lot younger, I spent a lot of time investing most of the energy and the effort to date women that I wanted to date. And I never really looked at any of the actions that they were doing because deep down I always feared that it was just a matter of time before they got rid of me anyways. And so by me always pursuing and doing most of the effort, that helped me deal with my fear that they were just going to blow me off. But the problem is that you pursue too much and the woman realizes this and then she starts to test you a little bit at first and she kind of jerks you around a little bit, changes the plans at the last minute, something like that, or cancels at the last minute, and you're just all too happy to make the next date with her. And after a few weeks, she starts to realize that she can totally jerk you around, run you over, and you'll just keep coming back for more. And then when she sees that, it's like, poof, all of the sexual attraction completely evaporates. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is through phone, Skype, or email coaching. And you can choose any of those options by going to my website, click the products tab on any page of my website, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.